Hello and welcome to the R.A. Kalfas Construction Buckeyes post-game show following today's game against the Purdue Boilermakers. They were nicknamed the Spoilermakers because they had knocked off two top 10 teams already this season in Iowa and Michigan State. So would the Buckeyes take them lightly? Would they be looking ahead to next week's game against Michigan State? Well, Ryan Day made sure they did not take them lightly. They came out and arguably played their best offensive football game of the season, considering where they were at in the season, what was at stake, and they needed to win because every game is a playoff game now for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They've got to win out in the regular season, which means next week against Michigan State and the following week against Michigan to get to the Big Ten championship game, win there so they can get into the college football playoffs. None of that mattered, though, if they didn't win today at home against Purdue. And the final score, let's put some numbers up on the bottom of the screen for you. 59-31, fourth-ranked Ohio State knocks off 19th-ranked Purdue. And the Buckeye offense just came out, and they were hitting on all cylinders. They scored touchdowns on their first 6 possessions in this football game. They had to settle for a field goal right before halftime. And so that broke the streak of 6 touchdown possessions, or I should say 6 touchdowns and 6 possessions. It would have been 7 for 7. They come up a little bit short there, but settle for the 3. But even though Purdue came out and played hard and did some damage in the third quarter, the Buckeyes responded. They go on to an easy victory over Purdue, 59-31. So a 28-point victory. I think that's what a lot of people were expecting from this team after they kind of got things turned around following the Oregon loss, right? Got things straightened out, and you're thinking, well, they should win by at least 2 to 3 touchdowns against Penn State. That didn't happen. Last week at Nebraska, they should win by 2 to 3 touchdowns at least over the Cornhuskers. That didn't happen. Well, at home today, Buckeyes were 21-point favorites, and they win by 28. And look at the numbers on the bottom of the screen. How many guys offensively got involved in this game for the Buckeyes that did the damage? C.J. Stroud, 5 touchdowns. More importantly, 0 interceptions. Didn't turn the ball over today. He throws for almost 400 yards, 31 of 38. He was efficient, and he spread it around. He also was able to turn and hand it to Travion Henderson, who ran for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mayan Williams, who's not on the bottom of the screen there, had over 100 yards rushing. So a solid ground attack, and then that air attack. Olave, 9 for 85. Njigba, 9 for 139. Garrett Wilson, 10 catches, 126 yards. And how about 1 rush for 51 yards? He turns in a 4-touchdown performance by the Ohio State Buckeyes wide receiver. Heck of an effort. The offensive line played much better today as they went out and dominated the line of scrimmage. So the offense did what it was supposed to do. And we knew Purdue could score points. They throw the ball a lot. It's who they are. It's what they do. And I had this one 42-21. Ohio State was my score. I figured they'd get at least 3 touchdowns. Well, they got 4 touchdowns and a field goal. Should have had a 5th touchdown late in the game. The wide receiver dropped the pass. I'm not upset with the Buckeyes defense. A little concerned, I guess, maybe is the best way to put it. Final yardage, let me look at the numbers. I wrote them down here. 481 total yards for the Purdue Boilermakers, 624 for the Buckeyes. So defensively, if I'm, nitpicking, trying to figure out, all right, what was not good today? What did not go well for the Ohio State Buckeyes in this contest? It would be the defense. Number one, they gave up 31 points, right? 31 points to Purdue. And as I said, almost 500 yards of total offense. And they didn't put hardly any pressure at all on the quarterback. Now, some of that's due to Purdue's scheme. 3-step drop, get rid of the football quickly. Take the snap, turn and throw. I understand that. But this defense led the nation in sacks coming in. And I'm not sure if they had a sack today. I have to look it up. I was doing some things during garbage time there. Didn't check it out. But I don't know if they came up with a single sack. But what they did do is create a couple of turnovers. And the Buckeyes were able to capitalize on those turnovers. So if you're not going to get the sacks, create some turnovers, get a short field, be able to score right off the turnover, and the Buckeyes did just that. So it was good to see the Buckeyes offense in high gear today. In fact, here's a comment from Steve, who's watching the show. Steve Trumpower, Buckeyes offense was rolling today. Appreciate you, Roadman. Steve, thank you. Appreciate you checking us out on the R.A. Kalfas Construction postgame show here, covering the Buckeyes win over the Purdue Boilermakers. It was nice to see that offense in that first half, one series after another, after another, after another. They didn't take their foot off the gas. They kept their foot on the pedal all the way through halftime. And then when Purdue, made an effort in the third quarter, Buckeyes responded, and they could have scored again late. They were genuflecting in victory formation down inside the 5-yard line there. It could have been 66 points on the board for the Buckeyes. But yes, that was nice to see. It was one of those, you could relax at halftime and not wonder if the defense was going to give up the big play or if the offense was going to struggle again in the red zone. They went out, they took care of business. And that's what I was impressed with Ryan Day. And listening to the broadcasters during the telecast, they talked about how Ryan Day said this was a very good week of practice. Everybody was on edge this week of practice. And it showed today. They played with total focusness, Jim Thome term, from the get-go today. Did not take Purdue lightly. And so that was great to see. So a tip of the cap to Ryan Day. Hey, we've questioned him on some play calls this year. The Oregon game, defensively early in the season. So we've got to give him some credit when he had this team offensively ready to go. Defensively, hey, they got 3 and out on the first possession. They kick off. Purdue gets it, 3 and out. They did get a stop defensively there. Buckeyes come down, score on the first possession. Purdue comes back and ties it. Buckeyes go back up, and then they play from ahead from 21-7 on, and really were never threatened from that point forward. And they shouldn't be with a team like Purdue. Okay? You should beat this team. I know they beat Michigan State, and I know they beat Iowa, but they don't have the talent that the Buckeyes do. I mean, just look at the crawl at the bottom of the screen there. Stroud, 5 touchdowns, no picks. Henderson, 2 yards shy of 100 yards. Mayan Williams ran for 100 yards. Garrett Wilson had 51 yards rushing on one play. And then those receivers, Olave and Jigba, Wilson, what they combined for, 28 catches and about 350 yards, 360 yards, whatever it was. And how about Jackson Smith and Jigba? I did the math as the game was winding down. Last week in the win over Nebraska, 15 catches, 240 yards, and a touchdown. This week against Purdue, 9 catches, 139 yards, and a touchdown. So in his last 2 games, the third receiver on the Ohio State Buckeyes football team. The number, you go receiver 1, receiver 2, receiver 3, right? 24 catches, 379 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It's not too bad when your third receiver is putting up those kind of numbers. And so offensively, they were in high gear. They were rolling today. Defensively, thanks Adam Cerny. No quarterback sacks today for the Buckeyes defense. That's going to have to change next week. And I think it will, simply because of the style of offense that the Buckeyes will be facing next week with Michigan State. Different type of offense. They are more of a ground and pound. In fact, let's see what if we can get a score on this game. Michigan State 40, Maryland 21, and that is in the fourth quarter with about 7 minutes to go. So Michigan State's going to come in here at 9-1. The Buckeyes are now 9-1. This will be number 4 in the country against number 7 in the country next week. And you know what? It's a noon kickoff too. That's a little surprising to me. I thought maybe they would go prime time or something along those lines, but no. Buckeyes and the Spartans going to play at noon next week, and then the following week at Michigan. That is a noon game as well. So the Buckeyes going to kick it off early the next 2 weeks, and those are the final 2 games of the regular season. So a home game next week against Michigan State, 4 versus 7. And then the following week, if everything holds suit, right, it'll be 4 versus 6. If the Buckeyes beat Michigan State next week, that means They will play the final game of the regular season at number 6. Maybe they'll be number 5 by then. Who knows? Michigan, who came back and beat Penn State in Happy Valley today, 24-17. And I was glad that happened. I want Michigan to have the best record they can when they play the Buckeyes at the Outhouse in Ann Arbor in that final regular season game. You want them to be as highly ranked as they can possibly be, because that is better for your resume. Not that the Buckeyes may need it, but hey, you do have one loss. And so you want to beat teams that are as highly ranked as possible. And so I hope Michigan, whoever, I don't even know who they play next week, win next week, and then set up the showdown between 4 and 6 or 4 and 5 in Ann Arbor in the final week of the regular season. Then if you win that game, you're off to the Big Ten championship game, December 4th. And that's at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. And more than likely, it's going to be Wisconsin unless they stub their toe the rest of the way. I think they're playing the best over there in the West, and I think they're going to end up winning the West. We'll see. That's my prediction as of right now. But then you would play a ranked Wisconsin team, and if you win that one, you're in the college football playoff. So 3 games potentially left for the Ohio State Buckeyes, at least to get to the college football playoff. Next Saturday at home, 12 noon against Michigan State. November 27th, 12 noon at Ann Arbor. And then December 4th, 8 p.m., should they win the next 2 games, that's the Big Ten championship. And again, that's at Lucas Oil Stadium. And how about this little nugget of information? Should the Buckeyes get to the college football playoff, they'd be one of 4 teams. If they win their semifinal matchup, the Buckeyes would then play in the college football national championship game at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. So potentially the Buckeyes could play 2 out of their last 3 games at Lucas Oil Stadium. Now, they've got to win the next 2 regular season games and then the Big Ten championship game for any of that to be possible. So a lot of work ahead of Ryan Day and Matt Barnes, the defensive coordinator, Kerry Combs, and that defense to make that happen. But you like what you see offensively. The Buckeyes can score with anybody in the country. I mean, think about it. They had off days scoring 26 and 33 points. Those are bad days for the Buckeyes. They want to score 50 a game. Their goal is to hit the half-century mark every game. Now, I don't foresee that happening against Michigan State or Michigan. Both have better defenses than Purdue has. Both like to run the ball, and that shortens the game, so less opportunities to score, so you'll need to be more efficient in those games. But still, that's their goal. They want to get 50 points if they can every game, every time out. So we'll see what happens next week, and let's see if we can get some more of these questions or comments coming in via Facebook from 1480 WHBC, as well as the Kenny Roda Facebook page. Bear with me here as I pop it up on my screen. Here we go. I'm using an iPad, a laptop, and a cell phone. Multi-dimensional. Am I ambidextrous? Well, ambidextrous is what, with 2 or both hands, right? What am I if I can do 3 or 4 things at once? Let's see here with some of these questions coming in via Facebook and also via Twitter. And we'll answer them and put as many up on the screen as we possibly can. Here are a couple of comments coming in. And let's see. This is from Mike S. Woodling. He says, we easily have the 3 best wide receivers in the country, and even Stroud was solid. Great team win today. I agree with you, Mike. Offensive line did their job. Running backs did their job. Quarterback distributed the football, did his job. Wide receivers made plays when they got an opportunity. And on offense, the Buckeyes did a great job. No question about it. Craig Easterday is checking us out, as he always does each and every week here on the R.A. Kalfas Construction Buckeyes postgame show. Craig had these comments. Great win, got stops early with the turnovers. True, that's when they controlled the game with the defense and offense. Took advantage of the mistakes, got the lead, kept their foot on the gas pedal. Welcome back, Garrett Wilson. Yeah, how about that? He sits out last week. He comes back. 4-touchdown performance today by Garrett Wilson. Outstanding. Says, great to see the offensive balance. Defense still needs to improve, but a very good win Go Bucks, and always look forward to your comments after the game. Craig, thanks so much. Tell your wife, Debbie, I said hello. We'll see you out at a remote here sometime in the near future. Always good to catch up with you. David Richardson, watching us here, said, question, defensively, how concerned are you with the defense going into these last games? Love listening to you. David, I'm concerned. I said that at the beginning, not upset because Purdue, it's what they do. You knew it was going to be a high-scoring game. I told everybody, bet the over on this one. Take the over because the Buckeyes defense is average at best. Purdue can score. The Buckeyes can score. So the safe thing in all of this, if you didn't want to give the 21 with Ohio State, you were concerned about that, bet the over and you were fine on this one. So I knew they'd give up points. I figured 3 touchdowns. They gave up 4 touchdowns and a field goal. It's got to be better next week against Michigan State, and it's got to be better the following week then at Michigan. No doubt about it. It just has to be better if you want to reach the ultimate goal, which is the national championship game. That's for the Buckeyes, and that's why a lot of time, man, Roadman, you're so damn hard on the Buckeyes. Why don't you chillax, man? Why don't you, just let them enjoy a close win every once in a while? Well, they have high standards, and so do I. They set the bar so high that when they don't achieve that or get to that level, it doesn't mean I don't have faith in them or don't believe in them. What I am looking at is, all right, how did they play today, and how would that stack up against the Georgias, the Alabamas, the whoever else is considered a national championship contender? That's how I look at the Buckeyes because, let's be honest, if you're a Penn State Nittany Lion fan, you'd be thrilled just to win the Big Ten championship these days with the way James Franklin's coaching that football team, right? You don't have national championship aspirations every year like the Buckeyes do. So if you were to win the Big Ten title, you'd be thrilled with that and maybe go into the college football playoff or whatever bowl game. At Ohio State, you got these goals. Beat Michigan, win the Big Ten, win the national championship. But that last one is the one that probably is number one on their list. They want to be national champions, whatever it takes to do that. So that's why, we may nitpick, we may get on them, we may question Ryan Day's play calling, and there were a number of reasons to question it the last couple of weeks. They were 2 for 9 in the red zone prior to today's game. So there's a reason to, question Ryan Day on occasion, even though he's never lost a Big Ten game. How crazy is that? How nuts is that? Ryan Day, since he took over for Urban Meyer, has never lost a Big Ten game. It's pretty impressive. And that's why it's hard to get on the guy, but they do have a loss this year and they can't stub their toe. They can't. They can ill afford another loss. No way a 2-loss Ohio State team makes it to the national championship game. Hell, back after week 3, when I looked at that defense and that performance at home against Oregon, I didn't think they had a chance to make it to the national championship game back then. Now they've righted the ship. They made a change at defensive coordinator. They also made a lot of personnel changes. The younger players who were the more talented players are playing now. Yes, they're not as experienced, but if you're a 4th or 5th year senior for Ohio State, you have experience, but you may not be as talented. So is a more experienced guy with some talent better than a more talented 4-star, 5-star guy that, is a little inexperienced, but by playing them from that point forward, they're gaining that experience to be the player you hope they can be in the Big Ten championship game and in the playoffs. And that's no longer a freshman or a sophomore because they played so many snaps, so many series. So let's see what other comments we got here. Try and get as many of these out to you as possible. Let's see here. Roadman, the pass defense, can they win the national championship with that pass defense? Oh, boy, that's a great question. Probably not. Depends on who they're playing and what their defense is like, right? Because Ohio State can score with anybody. So if it becomes a shootout, then the Buckeyes can win in a shootout type game. But if you're going up against a team like Georgia, who's got the best defense in the country, and you give up 31 points to Georgia and almost 500 yards of offense, I don't know if you win that game against Georgia, number one team in the country. Don't know if that happens. So the defense definitely has to get better. It's got to get better next week. It's got to get better against Michigan. Now, I know Ryan Day is going to tell you, hey, as long as we win by 1 point, I don't care. It's all that matters. Win by a point, win in advance. Look at Oklahoma today. And didn't we all see this coming? Oklahoma, the committee did not respect them. They were, what, 8th, I think, or 9th, whatever it was in this week's, and they were undefeated. Why? Because, well, they snuck by how many different times this season? Well, Baylor beat them today. You can cancel Oklahoma for any trip. You know who's loving that? Cincinnati. Cincinnati is hoping and praying that somehow, some way, they're, along with Georgia, the only undefeated teams left at the end of the regular season, and they still need some help. Now, here's what I think will happen. Should Georgia beat Alabama in the SEC title game, that'll knock Alabama out, okay? Georgia will be number one. Then it'll be interesting to see, depending on what Oregon does the rest of the season. And right now, they're slightly ahead of the Buckeyes at 3. Buckeyes are 4, right? When it's all said and done, depending on what the Buckeyes do down the stretch, even though they lost head-to-head to Oregon, will the Buckeyes be ranked higher than Oregon if Oregon makes the college football playoff? What I would like to see, in fact, what I would love to see, I really would, I would love to see Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Cincinnati 3, Oregon 4. And that way Oregon plays Georgia. You get the Battle of Ohio, Cincinnati, Luke Fickell against Ryan Day and the Buckeyes. I think that would be great for college football. It would be a lot of fun. But in order for that to happen, what do the Buckeyes have to do? Next week at home, beat Michigan State. Following week at the Outhouse, beat Michigan. Win the Big Ten championship game. You do those 3 things, 3 more wins. You are a lock for the college football playoffs. 2, 3, or 4, depending on, what happens elsewhere. And who knows? The thing that could really shake things up is if Georgia loses to Alabama in the college football in the SEC championship game. And then you're going to get 2 teams more than likely from the SEC in the Final Four. And I don't know where they would rank Georgia and Alabama if that happened. Who would be 1? Who would be 2, 3, or 4? And then it's the Buckeyes and Oregon as the other 2 teams. So there's a lot of football left. I know we're giving a lot of hypothetical situations here, but some of you are asking some of those questions, and I'm trying to give you my best guess or my best thoughts on what possibly could happen or what the Buckeyes need to do to make that happen. The pass rush has to be there every game for Ohio State's secondary. Without the pass rush, that young, inexperienced secondary, even though they've gotten better, it's not as effective. And today, I guarantee you, Michigan State's going to look at some of this film. Michigan will, Wisconsin, and what did Purdue do well to score 31 points? How'd they get that high percentage completion? Well, what'd they do there? And so you'll see other teams doing that. Dale Milano says no sacks today. That's not good, Dale. You're right. Thanks for checking us out tonight. Scott Witcher is watching us here on the R.A. Kalfas Construction Buckeyes postgame show. So, yeah, still a lot of work to be done, but you have to be encouraged today by the offense and what they did in the red zone, even though a couple of those plays were just outside the red zone, 21, 24-yard line. I still consider that, in the red zone area, and that's where they were struggling. The receiving trio, as good as Ohio State has maybe ever had on one team. Right? Wilson's a first-rounder. Olave, good chance he's a late first-rounder, if not second-rounder. And then you got Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's got another year under his belt. Or I should say, will get another year after getting this one under his belt. So that wide receiving core, man, you talk about putting fear in the opposition and defensive coordinators having nightmares, trying to get some sleep the night before they play the Ohio State Buckeyes. Whew, boy, good luck to you, man. Good luck to Mel Tucker and Michigan State next week. And let me see if that thing has gone final yet. Let's get some more scores in here before we bring this thing to a close today. Let's see here. Michigan State must be a final because it's not at the top of the scoreboard. There it is. 40-21. Michigan State wins at home over Maryland. Peyton Thorne, their quarterback, 287 yards, 4 touchdowns today. Walker, their Heisman Trophy candidate at running back, 143 yards and 2 TDs. You're going to see 2 of the best running backs in the country next week in Walker and Henderson. And now, I told you this week, take the over on the Buckeyes and the Boilermakers. Haven't seen it yet and what the spread's going to be, but next week we'll see maybe if you might want to take the under, because that's what Michigan State is going to hope to do. They're going to hope to keep the Buckeyes offense off the field with their ball control offense and their running game. So, tune into the Kenny and JT show later this week on News Talk 1480 WHBC, and we'll give you all the numbers. We have our guy on, Chris Van Dyne, our professional handicapper, joins us each and every Thursday at 4 o'clock, and we always get insight from him on the Buckeyes matchup as well as the Browns matchup. So tune in for that on Thursday at 4 o'clock. Let's see some other. Let's see. Adam wants to throw this one up here. Denzel Burke played well today, Kenny, for being a freshman. And yes, I agree. Ohio State has 3 great receivers. Go Bucks. Denzel Burke, first true freshman to start for Ohio State in the opener this year and all the games this year since Andy Katzenmoyer. Pretty high praise, right? I mean, to be in the same sentence conversation as Andy Katzenmoyer and what he did when he was at Ohio State, that's pretty special. Pretty special to be, lumped in or discussed with him. So, all in all, a good day for the Buckeyes. Defense, they'll work on some things, try and clean things up, get a better pass rush. Also, did they give up? That's something I wanted to see, because Michigan State's going to try and run the hell out of the football, as will Michigan. That's their offense. And then they play action off of that. I'm trying to see. Here we go. How many rushing yards? Well, they held Purdue under 100 yards rushing, so that's good. Okay? But most of the damage done through the air. So that's where the focus needs to be moving forward for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Hey, I want to tell everybody out there about R.A. Kalfas Construction. I've known Bob for, 15, 16 years now, I think it is. He advertised with us when I was back at WKNR. He's still advertising there. In fact, you can hear on WKNR the commercial spot. I still do his commercials for him there, and we're proud to have R.A. Kalfas Construction as the sponsor of the Buckeyes postgame show here. And if you're thinking about remodeling your home, refinishing it, putting in a man cave, a bathroom, or maybe you want to start from scratch, you want to build from scratch, whatever it is, they do it at R.A. Kalfas Construction, based out of Strongsville, Ohio. 35 years in business. So if you've been around that long, you must be doing something right. And Bob and his staff are fantastic. It's family owned and operated. And if you want more information on R.A. Kalfas Construction, 440-238-5498. That's 440-238-5498. Ask for Bob, Courtney, or Chris. You can visit them at rakalfas.com, and you can call and get a free estimate on whatever it is you want to get done as well. 440-238-5498, the construction company you can trust, and tell them the Roadman sent you. If you go there, hey, you just need steps put into your back porch. They do that. They'll build you a deck on the back of your house. Whatever you need done, Bob and his staff, phenomenal. And they're huge Buckeye fans too. Bob was at the game a couple of weeks ago. He told me for the Penn State game, I think it was. So he's always a big Buckeye supporter over the years. And I know he's happy with the win today. And so give R.A. Kalfas Construction a call. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Buckeyes postgame show. We will do a Buckeyes postgame show next week after the Michigan State game, so make sure you tune in for that. Tomorrow, we will have a Browns postgame show / riding with the Roadman. We combine the two as I'm out at Jersey's Sports Bar and Grill in Canton tomorrow with the Stark County Browns backers. And as soon as the Browns and the Patriots are done, on my way home, I usually do a riding with the Roadman and recap the Browns game. So look for that tomorrow. And then again, tune into the Kenny and JT show Monday through Friday, 3 to 7 p.m. on News Talk 1480 WHBC. And then back with us again next week here for the Buckeyes postgame show. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. See you tomorrow. If you're out at Jersey's in Canton or somewhere along the radio dial this week or next week here on the next Buckeyes postgame show.